not to put it. You know, you can bake a cake, but if you put too much salt in, it's not going to be as sweet as you want it to be. You know, some people cook with more salt than others. We're learning how to cook all over again, being vegan. Yeah, it changes the game. I mean, we got salt. That salt is the main ingredient of everything. But let's turn to the book of Ecclesiastes, because the Lord God gave us instructions.
Right, sir.
And we must follow them. Ecclesiastes chapter 3. And I like this text because I never really fully understood it until God made me sit down and dig through it. Solomon starts off and he says, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to break down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time for war, a time of war, and a time of peace. And God bless the hearers and readers of His Word. Didn't that sound like a poem? It sounded sweet. You know, if we had a little music to it, it might have almost been even better. But when he gets to verse 1, he says, a season, a time. To everything, there is a season, a time, to every purpose under the heaven. Both words, season and time, usually regard as being a specific point in a time. Everyone here operates off of the same life cycle as the next person. Seasons and time. For example, June 21st, 2018 at 5:07 was officially the first day of summer. At 6:30 a.m., I clocked in at work and I felt every bit of that summer. It was hot. It was hot. So, understanding that everything works off of time. We come to church because it's the first day of the week. It's a time management system. But God was not bound by time. He gave time as a gift to man.
You're right.
They were not made for God, but because God is the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, He never was born or never was created, and He will never die. So there would be no reason for Him to have time. Time is specifically made for us. Just like I was listening to a preacher say, why did God put 7 days in a week? 7 doesn't go into 365 evenly. So it was made by God. Now, I like to use that to say that Deuteronomy 29:29 says the secret things of God or of God. And that's it.
Right.
You don't have to explain yourself to anybody. But then he says, there are uncontrolled events during this season or time that happens in a specific time and a season of a person's life. From before our birth to the moment of our death. God is at work in our individual lives seeking to accomplish His will. Now, all of these events that happen in our lives are from God and are from God and are in God's time. I know what I'm saying sounds crazy. How family member passes away and in some horrible death. That's not good timing. It's never good timing. Paul said in Romans 8:28 that all things work together for the good of them that love God, those who are saved and who truly love God by their obedience from faith to them who are called according to His purpose. Now, if we cooperate in God's timing, life will not be meaningless. Right? Everything will be beautiful in its time. Even the most difficult experiences. For example, being without some pleasures and needs of life are great in their time because they teach contentment. and teach us how to trust God. And when we don't always get what we want, we oftentimes don't understand why. I remember Pastor saying, y'all wasn't ready for that house. My wife had not yet become pregnant, so it was like, he was crushing my dreams when I didn't get my house. When you fast forward several years later, and we got a house. There you go. And God seemed fit to give us the house in His time, not our time. See, it could have been another 30 more years before we got a house, but He was looking at the gratefulness and the satisfaction. Are you really satisfied with where you're at? Is the question. That's what Solomon was really getting at. Are you satisfied with what I've already provided? Now, my son has a way of showing you how dissatisfied he is with what you give him. Christmas time, he blows away. He gets gifts everywhere. He gets gifts all over the place. But guess what? When the paper wrapping has been put in the trash, the boxes have been cut down and thrown away, the toys will be in a corner somewhere and he'll be playing with the trash. With the boxes. That's because he's not satisfied with the things. And then you start taking stuff. Then that satisfaction comes back. That's how God do it. If you're not satisfied with what He gives you, you take something. And then when you do get it back, you'll be a little bit more happy.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I heard that once or twice before in my walk.
Yes, sir.
And then in verse 2 he says birth and death. These pairs of words in heaven, in this verse, are natural events in the human life. And all are under the control of the living God. I often say that God is the CEO of the entire solar system, the world included. Being all-knowing, all-present, and all-powerful, He has to see the situation that He's bringing you to. See, if He is not all-powerful, all-knowing, and all-present, then He is not the God of the Bible.
Woke up.
Now, it's some things that we bring on ourselves for sin. And sometimes it may not be sin of your personal sin. It may be just sin in and of itself. But there are some things that, you know how we like to say it when we was, getting that prosperity gospel in our lives. Is God doesn't put on you more than you can bear. He doesn't.
That's true.
He doesn't. That other half is you.
Come on down. Yes, sir.
He either allows the situation or stops the situation. I hate to always use pastor, but I guess I got to get him back for all the times he used me.
All right, sir. Yeah.
His accident was no accident. It was time. It was a time and season appointment for the purposes of God. Now, what purposes? Well, it was people that at the hospital that got blessed by seeing his joy in the midst of a struggle. I got a little bit from it. Because see, it does something to me about my personal faithfulness when my pastor or my dad can come up here crippled.
All right, sir.
I have no excuse. I have no reason to say I can't make it to church. Oh, I got a broke ankle, a broke femur, a broke hip, and some broke ribs. I can make it to church. It's a different situation. It's convicting, but it's the truth. It's the truth. His accident was no accident. Just because we don't fully understand something does not mean it isn't real.
All right, sir.
I don't understand the molecules in Earth. I don't. But Lord knows I got to act. I don't fully know how the carbon dioxide changes in the oxygen through the blood. I don't know all of that. I know enough to know that I need it.
You sure are.
See, things like abortion, birth control, mercy killings, and surrogate parenthood make it look as though man has control of birth and death.
Come on, doctor.
They don't. Several verses include that. Genesis 29, 31 through 30, and 24, 33 and 5, Joshua 24, 3 and 1, 1 Samuel 1, 9 through 20, Psalms 113, 9, 127, Jeremiah 1, 4 through 5. I mean, we could keep on going because they in there. So these verses state that birth and death are not human accidents. They are divine appointments.
Come on, Doc. Yeah.
See, people say he could have died. He could have died in that. Well, you could die walking out your house.
You sure right.
You could die laying in your bed.
You're right.
You can die choke eating food.
You're right.
I mean, there are ways that God don't make no mistakes. See, our lives are a whole lot of attempts.
Come on, Doc.
I messed up. I made it this time. Okay, that attempt was good. God don't attempt to do nothing.
Come on, Doc. Yes, sir.
Psalms 139:13 through 16 states that God so wove us in the womb that our genetic structure is perfect for the work He has prepared for us. Ephesians 2:10. Now, we don't need to tempt God and foolishly rush out there and end our time a little sooner than it needs to be. That's the reason why He started off with children, obey your parents. Your days will be longer that way, because mama and daddy will kill you. And then if they don't, the world will.
Come on, doctor.
See, we see these kids getting shot every day.
In the back.
They're getting shot every day because they did not obey. It's simple. It's simple. You don't like what they're doing, but that don't mean you fight it that way. If Martin would have fought it that way, we would not have made the strides that we made.
Come on, doctor.
It was by love. Now, unless God supernaturally changes the normal miracle. See, I use past as an example, but we can point at ourselves. See, the natural part of sinning is hell.
All right, now.
Come on, Doc.
But He supernaturally digs through life and pull you out of the hell.
Come on, Doc.
You see what I'm saying? That's a supernatural thing. That's not normal.
You're right.
If I jump and I stay up in the earth, that's not normal.
Come on, Doc.
Normal is I jump, I come back down. That's gravity.
Law of gravity. Come on, man.
Planting and plucking in the agricultural land, the Jewish, and they knew about this a lot more than we do. They appreciated the seasons. In fact, their religious calendar was based off of an agricultural year. Leviticus 23.
You're right.
Men can plow and sow, but only God gives the increase. Psalm 65:9 through 13. Plucking could be reaping or pulling up weeds and other plants that are not useful. Working with nature rather than against nature will benefit us. I say that because of this. My morning routine at 4:45 a.m., I roll over, I grab my remote, and I turn on the news. If I notice that it's going to be 105 degrees today, and I walk out the house with my coveralls and my long johns on, I am not going with the normal flow of nature. Am I right?
You're in there,
Because
Doc.
now you got dehydration and heat stroke because you got to work out there in it. So use nature in God's way.
That's good, Doc.
Unless I want to go against God and nature, I end up with them problems. See, we got nature. We see it every day. I knew this morning it was going to be hot. We in the summer. We in Texas. We know it. But if I was to put on all my winter garb, jackets on top of jackets and coveralls, I would probably not be here with y'all this morning.
You're right.
Because dehydration is real.
You're right, sir.
In the plan of God, there is a time to execute. Time for murders. Execute murders. See, Genesis 9:6. And for going to also against enemies. To designate against. Wars happen. And they're supposed to happen in the way that God says for them to happen. See, there is a time, a planned time, to defend ourselves. Hand-to-hand combat or using weapons. The result of sickness and plagues like cancer, AIDS, and other diseases in the land, God permits some to die, while others are healed. This does not imply that we should refuse medical aid.
Come on, Doc. Yeah.
You know how they said, I'm not claiming cancer. You're not. Well, apparently your doctor said it claimed you. So what do? Do you go against your doctor? No, God put those men and women in that place to be of help, not of hurt. So we have to. As a matter of fact, I believe Moses used the serpent on the rod. That's a sign. That's a sign
Come on. Yeah.
that you gotta have physical doctors out there to help.
You're
So
right,
if
sir.
they tell you do something, please. By all means, if you want to follow the instructions, you can't take medication when you want to take it.
Come on, Doctor. Yes, sir.
You got to take it the way that it's prescribed to be taken.
Yeah.
If we don't, then guess what happens? You don't drink enough water with your medication, and guess what it does? It messes with the liver and the kidneys. It can have a negative effect. Follow the instructions.
Yes, sir. That's good. Yeah.
There was a time we must tear down buildings that were built by nations, and also tear down nations, even relationships. Some people are like food in our lives. They have an expiration date.
Come on, doctor. Come on, doctor. That's good.
Not to say that they die, but they are no longer useful in the time and the season that you're in.
You preaching, sir.
See, I got some buddies. When I got married, they ain't too much like it. Because I can't hang with you. I can't do. When I got saved, it was some things that I tried to do, but I just felt out of place. Like,
Yes, sir.
I don't really feel like being here. So I moved to another area. But now they don't understand it. I don't want to go to the strip club.
Come on, doc.
I don't
Come
want
on.
to go to the club.
Come
I'm
on, doc.
invested.
Yeah.
I'm invested. I'm not gonna mess up my investment.
Yeah.
And what God put in me for my house and my family for a good night out. No, it's a time for that. And he said in the Bible, he said, when I was a child, I thought as a child.
Come on, sir.
And when I was a teenager, I thought as a teenager. When I was a young man, I thought as a young man. When I got older, I started to think, well, you know what, life is coming. It's not stopping. So I have to put things in place. So they may even become useful again. But at that particular moment in time, God seen fit to remove them out of your life because there was something God wanted you to do. And then we get to verse 4. Weeping, laughing, mourning, dancing. God's plan includes both sorrows and joy. Believers do not mourn in the same way as unbelievers. 1 Thessalonians 4:13. But we do mourn. Matthew 5:4. Dancing and leaping and laughter are the results of joy and God-given happiness for our pleasure. Without joy and happiness, the world would be a horrible place to be. Because you would have no hopes, no entertainment, no enjoyment in life. Life is already chaotic. Just take away the joy. Just take away happiness and laughter. Take those things away and guess what you got? You got some people's lives. On the other hand, if it were all joy and happiness, and
Trump White House.
you got all these good things happening, then nobody would take life serious enough to work, so everybody'd starve to death. No responsibilities to continue knowledge, so it'd be a whole lot of just dumb people.
Come on, Doc.
Walking around. Nobody took the understanding. I need to learn something so I can learn how to grow this fruit, so I can grow this fruit so I can eat. So you see what I'm saying? You would just die off. So it has to be the happy medium. Then we get to verse 5. This goes back to the agricultural term. They would have to clear their lands of stones because it made their land unstable and unable to grow stuff. And to hurt your enemy, you just filled it up with rocks. Fill their fields up with rocks. They neither, rocks themselves, the stones themselves were neither good or bad. It all depended on what you did with them. See, in David's case, he used them in a good purpose.
Okay.
See what I'm saying? Because he had to fight the Philistines, so he looked around for 5 smooth rocks and handled his business. But see, if you threw a whole lot of rocks on somebody's soil, they wouldn't like that too much, because now either they got to move them or nothing will grow.
Right.
So it's a time to gather them stones, and it's a time to throw them stones away. There are some things in our lives that we must throw away. And sometimes we must gather some things together. My wife and I have decided not to eat meat. And that's what we feel God is telling us to do. And in doing so, we gather more plant-based things in our diet. In which I had no earthly idea it was that many plants that you could eat. And they help out. Lord Jesus. So much stuff, it's overwhelming. It's like you're retraining yourself to cook. It's crazy. But you never know what the properties are until you follow the instructions. You got to research that and look at, oh, this plant said if I cut it up, I boil it, and it'll have these properties.
Right.
You can't just eat the plant dry.
All right, Doctor. All right.
You can't just put it like you want it and then expect it to get the same result. You got to follow the instructions.
That's good. That's good,
See,
sir.
people in those times openly showed their affection by kissing and hugging. They met together, they would kiss and hug, hey, good to see you, and they kiss and hug when they leave. This could be translated, there is a time to say hello, and there's a time to say goodbye.
All right, sir.
Or this could also be, there was a time to embrace your love and there in your relationship. And there was a time to say goodbye in a relationship. Here. See, I've had people, women in my life that were not good for me. They was good to me.
Come on, dog.
But not good for me.
Come on,
it's
dog.
a difference. See, God said, I got to get them out your way so you can get what I got for you.
Come on, dog.
There's some stuff out there I got for you, you holding on to that don't need to be held on to.
That's good, sir.
Let it go. You know how you hit you. Put it down. You know how it go. Put it down. And then when you put it down, you say, I want it back. And you say, I already got something better for you. Just be patient.
Chill.
Yeah. Get out your feelings.
Stand still.
Yeah. Get out your feelings and get in your faith.
Get out of the way.
See, it's some family. There's some families that need to be moved to the side
Come
for
on,
a
dog.
month. There's some friends that need to be moved to the side. It's some marriages.
Watch
Come on,
out.
dog. Come on,
Some
man.
marriages that need to be moved to the side, especially if they whooping on you.
Come on, dog.
If you're going through that kind of struggle, if you're going through that kind of struggle, God doesn't want that.
No.
Some things we get are used for a moment and probably will never be used again. How about a chainsaw? It cost me $100 and some dollars. Now that I've cut down all the trees, I have no use for the saw. Now, of course, I like to get rid of my tools because I don't like to work.
All right, dog.
Some things we lose because it can become a crutch instead of a tool.
All right, sir.
Some things we should keep and some things we should get rid of.
All right.
This gives us a biblical reason for garage sales.
Come on, dog. That's good, man.
Sometimes you gotta pile all that stuff up and get rid of it. It also gives us a biblical reason to go out there and share with people the things that we don't use anymore.
All right.
Instead of stockpiling and become spiritual hoarders, that also goes to the gospel as well. When you get full of
You in there,
something,
man. You in there.
don't hoard it off to yourself like it's precious because it is. But when you start pumping it out to different
There
people,
you go.
he'll make sure he refills the cup.
There you
Preach
Ain't
that.
that
Preach
just
that.
hold on to.
You in there,
If we
man.
stockpile our life with all our blessings,
Oh, you
in there,
God
sir.
gives us, it's like a spiritual hoard. We first make no room for more blessings. And we are not blessing people with the things that He has given us. So we need to be, once we get it, we give it. Once we get it, get our use of it. Because once you get the gospel, you use it, apply it, then you give it to somebody.